Hi everybody, I'm Don Dickson and I want to thank you for joining me today. I want to break away from our normal schedule just for a few minutes today to let you know of something that we've been working on and setting up over the last few weeks. I think I've already mentioned it to you. We're going to be doing a program where I'll be answering questions that are coming from you, from our subscribers. And over the years, most people looked at me as their fishing coach. And because I used to do a lot of coaching in baseball all the way up through high school, there are a lot of young guys around my town that still call me coach. But when I started teaching fishing, it was just something that the students hung on me and it stayed with me. So my wife thought it'd be a good idea to call this little thing that we're setting up, Ask the Coach. So it's set up for our subscribers to ask questions. And as I mentioned a few weeks ago, if you have a fishing question that you don't know the answer to, it's not a dumb question. There is no such thing. And there is, thankfully, there is an answer to every fishing question that there is out there. There's an answer. Buck used to say to me, he said, if you do your studies and you develop the experience to go with it, he said, you can get in front of a group of people, 5,000 people in a crowd, with the assurance that there's not one person can ask you a question that you don't know the answer to. And when he told me that, I thought, I don't know if I'd ever get to that point. Because I was always a little bit of, there's always a little bit of nerves in talking to big groups. But I remember one time in Illinois, I did have 5,000 people. And most of them were they looked like they're all working down at the docks, longshoremen sitting there in t-shirts, arms as big around as my legs. And I thought, oh man, I hope in the question and answer period I don't get stumped because this looks like a pretty rough crowd. And I had 5,000 people there. We ended up with a question and answer period that lasted an hour and a half. And Buck was right. If you do your homework, if you take advantage of the knowledge that Buck has provided for all of us, you're never stumped. And I can promise you, if you have a fishing question, I've got an answer for you. And the answer that I have, it will be based on facts, proven facts, not some idea that I had one time or another. I've often stated this. I never had an original idea about a fish in my life. But I was smart enough to realize early on that Buck Perry was not only a genius, but he was an absolute Einstein when it came to the facts, the true facts concerning a fish and what it takes for you and I to catch them. He's got all the answers. He said, I've got the knowledge and I'm sharing it with you. All you got to do is take it. Well, I took it. And now I want to share it with you. So this is what this whole idea of the question and answer is about. I want you to be out here on this lake catching fish. If you're not catching fish, pretty soon you're not listening to me anymore. And by the way, I don't like the sounds of that. My job is to get you catching fish. And if I have to field a bunch of questions and then get those answers out, somebody might ask a question from Phoenix, Arizona, and I answer them, and you end up having something cleared up in your fishing because of some question that someone else asked. So we're going to have this question and answer thing that we're going to be doing, Ask the Coach a Question. And where I want you to ask those questions is in the comment sections of a video. If I do this video and you have a question, I want you to put it in the form of a comment to me. And we're going to write that down. We're recording all the questions. And we're going to pick a bunch of good ones out. We're going to do this once a month. And we're going to answer all of your questions. And some of them might seem elementary to one person, but advanced to another, and vice versa. But whatever it is, whether it's elementary or the most advanced discussion we could have, we're going to settle it. We're going to get your questions answered. Now, this is for our subscribers only. So if you haven't subscribed, I hope you do, and get your questions asked because I want to see you catching fish. So in order to show you how this is going to go, I had a recent question from a young man up in North Carolina. I think he told me he was 50. That's young to me. Anyway, his name is Ron Thompson. He is a serious fisherman. And he's got kids that are serious about their fishing, just like mine. And so he's had some correspondence with me, and he recently asked me a question, and of course I've never met Ron, so I had no idea of his skill level or anything like that, or his how much study he's done with Buck's information. I have no idea. But he asked a question. I want to answer his specific question today. Just to give you an idea, this is how we're going to work. Once a month, we're going to be doing these questions, Ask the Coach. And we're going to be fielding your questions. But his question was this. He had been contour trolling. And he said he hadn't caught any fish this particular day. And he wasn't able to identify any structure. He said, but someone told him. Now, I don't know where he got this. And I haven't asked him yet who in the heck told him this. However, he said, somebody told me that if that happened to them, the thing to do would be to start contouring down at a depth of 18 feet. Now, I thought that was a misprint when I read his question, but I'm assuming now that it was not. And he didn't have a full understanding of what we have touched on prior to, which is anytime we're fishing deeper than 8 to 10 feet, we're not contouring. We're fishing a specific feature, a break line, a end of a bar. We're fishing a structure. And if we can't identify a structure, if I go out here and I can't find any structure, I'm not going to be fishing deeper than 10 feet. Because when fish move in deep water, they're following bottom features, which are referred to as structure. And as we talked about the last time, they end up pausing and stopping at a break or a break line on that structure. So if I can identify a feature that I want to specifically hit this spot right here, it's breaking off at 17 feet into 30 feet. I want to hit that spot at 17 feet. If I can't identify that, I'm not going to be fishing it. You'd be better off just contouring the shallows. You end up catching more fish contouring the shallows than you will fishing out there in deep water without a plan, without a target. You know, Buck said years ago, in fact, he said it on a TV show that we did together with Kirk Gotti. He said most fishermen that are fishing towards the bank, fishing the shallows, he said when you ask them to turn around the boat and look out there in the middle of the lake, and say, why don't you throw a cast out there? He always got the same response. The response was, I don't have a target to cast to. It's just water. Well, there are targets in deep water, and these targets are structure, breaks, and break lines. And this is where we're going to run into the fish. And if I cannot identify structure anywhere in this lake, I'm going to find a new lake, period. That's just me. But if I had to fish this lake and I couldn't identify any structure or any deep features, I would be better off contour trolling the shallows than I would be flailing around out there somewhere in deep water, because that's really a needle in a haystack. If you're trying to follow contours out there in 18 or 20 or 27 feet, you're really needle in a haystack. And that's not what we're about. We're about catching fish on purpose, Ronnie. And I know how serious you are about this game. So we're going to be talking a whole lot more about pinpointing our fishing and being precise in our fishing, trolling and casting. And we're going to concentrate on deep structure, deep presentation. And the reason for that is simple. 99.999% of the time when you run into the school of fish, it's going to be somewhere in deep water. But it's going to be on a deep water feature that we have previously identified and then properly fished. That's when we're going to have our success. So until the next time, I want you to be sure to go ahead and ask your questions in the comments on the videos that we're doing. Ask your questions and get them into me, and once a month we're going to be answering a bunch of questions. And hopefully your question will be there and we'll give you a shout out on video. So thanks for being with me today, and be sure to, well, this obviously, like us on Facebook, but be sure to subscribe, because this Ask the Coach thing is for subscribers only. So until the next time, I appreciate you being with me today.